all so much for joining us. My name is Lindsay Cuyava. I am Senior Manager of Programming here at CGI and have been so honored to put together Story Studio. Thank you for joining us. I know some of you have been here for 4 sessions, so amazing. We love it. For those of you that are coming for the first time, welcome. Story Studio is a new initiative here at CGI. So if you all know, and I assume you do, President Clinton has a true passion for storytelling. And the Story Studio is really built out of that passion, that we really want to bring you unique stories from people whose voices need to be heard and really will inspire you to take the next steps to really put into action all the things we're talking about here at CGI. And so, not to be biased, because all of our sessions are great, my background is in theater and education, so I've got a little bit, of a bias here of this session. So this session is our Culture and Ingenuity session, and I am absolutely honored to introduce your host, Duhaime-Ross.
Thank you, Lindsay. Hi, everybody. My name is Duhaime-Ross. My pronouns are they and them. I am a correspondent for Vice News. I also host 2 podcasts for Vice. One of them is called Vice News Reports, and the other one is called A Show About Animals. And I'm here today to accompany you on this journey where we're going to reflect on the power of culture and ingenuity. So, culture and ingenuity. When I think about culture and ingenuity, I think one thing that comes up for me is a lot of the reporting that I've been able to do over the years. Talking to people in rural Alabama, for instance, about environmental racism and health inequity, or being able to witness Native Alaskans fighting for their right to move their village from one location to another because of the increasing threat of global warming, right? I think that, when I do that kind of reporting, the first thing that comes to mind is, well, how did we get here? How did we get here? I think oftentimes the answer is culture. And when I say culture, I mean dominant culture. I mean the culture of the people who are in power. Because at its base unit, culture is made up of stories. Stories that we repeat over and over again until they become truth. And the people who generally get to dictate what truth is are the people who hold the most power, for better or for worse. So, I think right now we're kind of at a period where we need to start thinking about telling better stories and also listening to a wider range of storytellers. Because oftentimes what happens is that the people who are most affected by any given problem are also the people who are most likely to come up with new solutions. So how do we pay attention to those people? How do we make sure that they are listened to? How do we make sure that we support their collective genius? Today, we're going to be listening to a wide range of storytellers who are really going to be able to dig into this theme of culture and ingenuity. And this is going to be very good. I've had the opportunity to listen to some of these folks, and I think you're going to have a blast listening to them. They're also going to be talking in 3 different formats, so that's going to be pretty interesting. But I think what I need from you guys right now is to turn off your phones. I need you to turn off your networking brain. I need you to stop looking at people's name tags, right? And I want you to settle into the opportunity to listen to these incredible speakers giving you a part of themselves, a part of their lived experience. So are you ready? Yeah? That's what I like to hear. All right, so our first speaker is Silvia Vasquez-Lavado. She is an author, she is an entrepreneur, she is an explorer. She understands really from a fundamental level what you need in order to see the world differently. It means going places, it means digging deep, and sometimes doing things that scare you. And I think that this talk is going to be very inspiring for a lot of you. So please welcome to the stage, Silvia.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Riel. When I was 30, I found myself in the middle of an ayahuasca ceremony. I remember the sweat dripping down my cheek and feeling the tingling in my fingers. All of a sudden, I started feeling that maybe my addiction wasn't all that bad. I wasn't there to have a psychedelic experience, but to heal. Ayahuasca is an indigenous plant found in the jungles of the Amazon. Shamans had used ayahuasca for centuries to heal emotional pain and to unlock higher state of consciousness. As a survivor of child sexual abuse, I had been constantly running away from my life, from my pain, from my culture, and from my identity. I became an alcoholic and used alcohol as a way to numb and mask my pain, to control. But when my drinking got out of control, I asked for help and reached out to my very conservative mother. She had me come down to Peru and do a powerful healing session of ayahuasca with her and my very close-minded father. Now, who does ayahuasca with their parents? In this session, I remember seeing the vision of a little girl crying in a corner. She was she was having two ponytails and wearing a turquoise tracksuit. It was me at 6 years old. It was the image of the girl that I had been trying to erase from my memory, to destroy. And then I saw myself as an adult reconnecting to this little girl. And as we connected for the first time, I remember hearing these rumblings, and all of a sudden mountains opened up, and my little girl pulled her hand and took me walking into mountains. I put this vision into reality, and I found myself in Kathmandu, bringing this little girl inside of me, and also trying to bring this massive pain to the tallest mountain in the world, to the base of Mount Everest. On my second day, when I came across the Himalayas, I experienced awe for the first time. Walking under the shadows of the tallest mountains in the world was the only thing big enough to swallow my shadow, to swallow my shame, to swallow my pain. I remember I got to the base of Everest and I made a promise that I was going to return one day and attempt to climb to the top under two conditions: that I would come back as a mountaineer and that I would come back with a social cause. So fast forward to 2016, and I had returned to Everest. I had completed climbing 5 of the 7 tallest mountains in each continent. I also was going to bring a group of young women survivors of sexual violence and sex trafficking to the base of Everest. Most of my mountaineer friends started questioning me. Who would attempt to do something that crazy when trying to achieve one of the most difficult feats in the world? But I felt I was in control. I was a mountaineer, plus a leader in the corporate world. I felt wise enough to be able to guide these women to heal on my own timeline. What could go wrong? Well, on the very first day, Lucy, one of my strongest hikers, got sick with altitude sickness. And then it was like a domino effect. Half of the team started struggling, and we hadn't even gotten into the higher part of the trek. And even on the third day, Jimena, one of my most staunch supporters, wanted to quit because of homesickness. We haven't even reached the Himalayas, and I started questioning if I had made the right decision. I had to surrender, to let go, and to trust in the divine timing of things. But we kept walking. And as we were getting towards the end of the trek, I started freaking out. It seemed like the girls had not experienced the kind of awe that I had seen on my very first journey. What if nothing changed for them? We reached the small town of Periche just 3 days before the end of the hike. We were forced to take a rest day. And I remember I felt the need to be in control again. I figured maybe I could put us all together, and I plotted an agenda like a corporate summit. I was going to get all of us and start asking the 3 strengths and weaknesses that we all had learned. I figured that we would get together and talk for about 45 minutes and then go back to rest. We got together in one of the girls' room and pulled all the beds together and sat in a circle, and everyone stared at me in silence. No one shared the 3 things that they had learned. And then all of a sudden, Ehani opened up and started speaking in Nepali. She didn't know English. And she told us that whenever the sun started coming down, her body would start contracting, because that was during the time that she would start getting abused. However, our collective time together in the trek was giving her the opportunity to feel safe, to embrace her courage. And then for the next 4 hours, each of the young women opened up their stories of survival. They shared the most horrible experiences, how they overcame and escaped their horrors, how they found their strength, how they found their courage. In that room at 14,300 feet, our sisterhood turned from an idea and it became an action. These young women taught me how small and tidy my conception of healing had been. They taught me that strength didn't need to be loud or domineering, that it could be tender and nurturing, an undercurrent, a mountain. These young women taught me that the vulnerable work of sharing our stories was the healing journey. So when we reached the base of Everest and said our goodbyes, I remembered that my journey would continue with theirs, that the resilient path of their strength and courage was something that I will be serving me for the rest of my journey. As I reached the summit of Mount Everest, I left a photo of the little girl in me that had started this journey, and I gave immense gratitude to these young women because at the end of the day, I had not trained them. They had trained me and taught me that no one climbs a mountain alone. Thank you.
Silvia, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for talking about these women and their lives. That really means a lot.
Thank you.
From what I've heard, your memoir is being turned into a feature film. Is that correct?
That's
Who's going to play
right.
you?
Selena Gomez is playing me.
Selena Gomez. Look
Yes.
at that. That's amazing. I love
Yes.
her.
Yes, she's
Um,
amazing.
I do. And so, are you involved in this project? How is that going?
Yeah, I'm actually the executive producer, and I was in LA last week. I don't even know what day it is, but we just got the first pass of the script. And so, as an executive producer, I want to get us involved because it's an opportunity to just share such a raw story. As a Latina woman, I am proud as well to be able to, bring a different character out.
Yeah.
So we are just on that very first early stages. I mean, putting the book, and this is based on my memoir called In the Shadow of the Mountain, but the book came out today, this year, and it is 300 pages. A script is only 100 pages, so we had to cut and change a lot. But I'm very excited, so we'll see what's going to happen.
Congrats.
Thank you.
For people who have children in the audience, children who maybe want to explore, digging deep, exploring courage and adventure, where should they get started?
Go to any national park, go to any, I come from a country full of mountains, and I was always scared of my country because of the abuse. But that is one of the things that I'm trying to push, the power of healing in nature. I was just very lucky that I'm also featured on one of the Gutsy episodes with Secretary Clinton and Chelsea. It's episode number 5, Forces of Nature. And
Check that out.
yes, it's a really fun one. I took Chelsea down a waterfall, and it was really fun. But it was really cool because I think we coined the term messenger of the mountains, and I call myself that because I'm trying to bring as many people as I can to be just surrounded by nature. 3 days in nature rewires the brain.
Yeah.
And we would be surprised, and it is a way to experience also. I mean, strongly encourage. It can be a little tricky sometimes with children, but we can make it interesting. I know when you put a little tent, when you make that idea, it could be a lot of fun, but baby steps.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Can we have another hand for Silvia, please?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, so now we're about to go from the mountains to the movie house. Our next speakers are Tanaya Sharma and Kamal. Oh, geez. Saxena. I'm so sorry. They're both from the Vinod Gupta Charitable Foundation, and they have a movie that they're going to present to us, and you're going to be able to see their work in action. They work in education, and they give women opportunities both in terms of work and in terms of education. Yeah, sure.
Good afternoon and namaskar. One of the things that I have learned working for gender equality in education in India is that every effort to create a social change starts from one person's story. But while that individual's story and the one person's experience may be a catalyst which will spark change, a change in society, and that one person's change is the collective stories that we are here to present this afternoon. And this is the driving force behind it. Over a course of last 20 years or more, I've had the honor of working for the Vinod Gupta Charitable Foundation and have gotten to know so many of the students at the school. We shall be sharing with you today the girls whose stories are just the beginning. We all shall be sharing with you today, girls, as someone, those who have helped the foundation right from the inception. It has been a remarkable change to see the action. They may look like schools to you, what we are going to present to you today, but for us, it is a future that gives them the agency to write their own story. And that is invaluable, what we want to share with you.
Before we roll the movie, I would like to add a little something to what has already been said here. Our founder, Vin Gupta, was a little more reluctant to be featured in this film because of his tendency to not want to be in the limelight. But I thought it was time for the world to hear his story too. We truly hope you enjoy it. We are proud to share with you a piece of our hearts, our film, A Glimpse into the World of Rampur Maniharan in Uttar Pradesh, India. Many years ago, a little boy lived in a tiny village in the state of Uttar Pradesh in India. He dreamt of a world where he could fly, even while his village had no roads to show the way out, no light to shine on his thoughts, and no development. Not even basic sanitation facilities. Undaunted by reality, he ran and ran towards the opportunities and resources that would go on to make him a successful multi-million-dollar entrepreneur, Vinod, or Vin Gupta as he is known today. But then, this is not really the story of that little boy. This is the story of a young girl who can afford to dream a different dream every day in the very place Vin Gupta left decades ago. This is the story of Avni.
मैं फाइटर पायलट बनना चाहती हूँ। दीदी मैं बड़े होकर डॉक्टर बनना चाहती हूँ।
डॉक्टर बनना है आपको?
मैं तो साइंटिस्ट भी बन सकती हूँ।
Avni is one among nearly 2,000 students who are receiving world-class education at the Bill Clinton School, located in the sprawling, state-of-the-art Ramrati Education Complex. And what makes her story truly special is that her school was built by none other than Vin Gupta himself, founder of the Vinod Gupta Charitable Foundation, an organization dedicated to transforming the lives of his people in his village, with special focus on the girl child and women empowerment.
Hi, my name is Vinod Gupta, and I grew up in a village called Rampur Maniharan in district Saharanpur. I took President Clinton to my village in 2001 so he could see what it was like. When he saw my school, which was very primitive, he encouraged me to open a new school there. And as a result, I opened a nursing school by honoring Hillary Clinton, and I also opened a high school by honoring President Bill Clinton. We have a 22-acre campus with modern facilities, and we are educating these village kids and they pay a very minimal tuition fee. Every time I go there and I see those kids, I see myself in them. And I'm proud that they are getting a great education. We want to show you what we have done in this village school and how we are educating the girls who usually do not get the education.
Girl education was back then in most villages a taboo. That we are where we are today is because of the courageous and proactive involvement of the trust management.
सर की एक बुक है जो उन्होंने लिखी है लर्न अर्न एंड रिटर्न, और वो चाहते हैं कि इसको हम साकार करें। तो कुछ लोग हैं जो इस कड़ी से जुड़े हैं और शायद कहीं ना कहीं हम बहुत छोटी सी कड़ी के रूप में वहाँ हैं।
Our educational endeavor here in Rampur set out with an aim to mold the minds of not just our students but also the larger diaspora. To witness the change over nearly 2 decades has been immensely gratifying for us. My father, the 9th President of India, late Dr. Shankardayal Sharma, was a crusader in the cause of education for all. In fact, Dr. Girilal Gupta, Vin's father, and my father became friends while studying at the University of Lucknow. Today, Vin and I owe our friendship to the bond they established. I'm sure our efforts to make this dream of education for all a reality makes their souls proud.
Today, children like Avni are breaking barriers in the Central Board affiliated Bill Clinton School with a special subsidization of 33% for the girl child. The school provides amenities and progressive education to all children, overcoming all obstacles of distance, remote accessibility with school-provided transport. Girl students have been granted bicycles to ensure their presence in the premises, and high-tech classrooms have connected all the young minds to unending possibilities, educating them with the marvels of modern sciences in labs that could rival any leading city school. The sports and extracurricular activities make for holistic education and well-rounded personalities that are nourished by judiciously balanced meals served in the school canteen. In fact, the children get 2 free lunches a week, providing nourishment for body and soul within the premises. The gratifying response to results in the Class 10 and Class 12 exams have ensured the mission of this school is on the right path, creating a revolution with each step, each moment, each year. But that's not all. Alongside the school in the Ramrati complex itself is the Hillary Clinton Nursing School that has taken up the challenge of successfully providing health and wellness education in rural India to those interested in pursuing a career. Just what the doctor ordered in these parts. The trained nurses from this institute have made everyone proud with their commitment and skills, making them a vital link in the medical infrastructure in the entire Saharanpur region today. It is a matter of great pride that our nurses from VGCF were integral to the vaccination drive in the region during COVID. We at VGCF are committed to our endeavors to empower all young minds with the means to achieve their dreams. We will give them wings to fly.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Today, this campus is a beacon of the new age in this rural land. But what is even more fascinating is the fact that thousands of little village children here, such as Avni, can truly aspire to reach for the stars.
बेटा पूरा आसमान ही देखते रहोगे क्या? सोना नहीं है क्या?
मम्मी, मुझे एस्ट्रोनॉट बनना है।
ये एस्ट्रोनॉट क्या होता है?
मुझे चांद पे जाना है।
We must have watched this film 100 times. And every time we look at it, the emotions are deeper. That's all I have to say. Thank you. We hope you are able to see the wonderful work which has been done through our eyes. Thank you.
totally agree on the emotional bit. I think my throat catches each time. And while Vin Gupta may not like to be in front of audiences, we have dragged him to New York to join us and be honored here today. Could we have a round of applause for the man behind it all, Mr. Vin Gupta? Thank you for, yeah.
I grew up in this village, and I always told President Clinton about my village, and we could never figure it out how primitive a village can be. And in 2021, when he went to India, that was after a earthquake, and then he went to the village, and then he said, "How could you get out of here?" And I said, "Well, that's the power of education." And that's when he said, "Well, why don't you build a good school here?" And that was the start of this whole school. And where we have all these children from the villages and the girls from the villages who get education. And it has been a great place. I mean, every time I go to India, last time I spent overnight there. But anyway, it has been a great journey. And, what good is money? We earn money, but then unless you put it to good use, it has no value. So anyway, thank you for the wonderful work. I think they are doing all the work, I just write the check,
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. And I think what I would like to say, and I hope that the movie has reminded you, and so has Vin Uncle's story, that all change essentially begins at home. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I just want to take a few moments. Thank you so much for showing us that video. That was really powerful. Education is obviously so important. I'm going to ask you something that's a little off topic here, but Tanaya, from what it kind of sounded like that was your voiceover there.
It was.
Was that your first time doing that?
Yes, it was. And I think the reason we chose to, have me do it as opposed to a professional was because I truly feel that movie. From the time we sat down with, the director and producer that we got on board in India, I've literally been, every minute detail I've always kind of looked into. And then on the ground, of course, Miss Saxena was there to guide them through it all. And I think to have someone else come in wouldn't have had the same feel. I think for us, it had to feel like it was our own. Because these schools are our own.
Yes. And Raj, you've been working in education for the last 30 years, from what I understand.
Yes.
When you think about the future of education for girls and for adult women, what are you hopeful for? What gives you hope? What are you excited about?
I believe that there is always hope. There's nothing like that it cannot be done. We just have to find the way, like we found in Rampur Maniharan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Another hand
Thank you.
for Tanaya and Raj. Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to end this event with a bang. Our next speaker, which I'm going to have a conversation with her, is Elle Morgan Lee. Before she comes on stage, I just want to brag about her just for a little bit. She is an award-winning storyteller, Obie award-winning storyteller. She is also the first openly trans Tony Award nominated actor. And she's currently on Broadway for A Strange Loop. So please welcome Elle Morgan to the stage. Look at us two trans folk on the stage at CGI right now. How you doing?
I'm good. I feel a little like the things that I'm doing, it's wonderful to see the other people that have been up here today, and it makes me go, wait, why was I asked to do this again?
Oh no, you should be here. You should definitely be here.
But yeah, I'm here.
All right. When did you first know that you wanted to be an actress?
Oh God, certainly before I knew that it was an actual occupation. You don't grow up thinking that that's something that you can do and make a living, and even making a living doing it, it still seems impossible sometimes. But I was, 4, 5, whenever I was old enough to be able to see people on television and go, that's what I want to be doing. I sort of started out with a love for movie musicals, like the old MGM musicals, and got sort of thrown into theater when people realized that I sang.
I like that.
Mhm.
I'm glad you
TV and
found
film
that. I
is
think we're
always
all
still the
pretty
dream.
grateful for that. You know, you've been in the spotlight a lot recently, and I'm wondering how that's been for you. How has the coverage been? What kind of impact has that had on you?
Sure. Suddenly, my voice matters to people, it seems. Suddenly, I'm being asked my opinion. And I was always the kid that would get into a new neighborhood and, you know, instead of jumping right outside and going to play with people, I would always sort of watch from my window and sort of find the energy in the people that I actually wanted to spend time with and get to know. So I've always had an opinion. I've always been able to sort of observe. And I think now that those observations are getting a chance to somehow be heard about the world that we live in, and it's beautiful, but there's also such a responsibility to it, and I feel as though I have to always sort of preface conversations with, I can share my experience, I can share the things that I have learned or seen, but I can in no way represent sort of the entire community or any entire community, be it Black, be it trans, be it women. I can't represent anyone but my own experience and hope that people are able to take away whatever things they get from that and sort of run it through their own brains to see if it touches things that they also know or do.
What is that like to feel that pressure to be what everybody wants you to be? Like, how have you experienced that?
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, it's the story of my life because I've experienced that sort of from a child growing up because of the expectations in my home. But now there is especially during the Tony season with a lot of interviews and things happening, there's sort of this moment when you speak to someone and you know that they have sort of preconceived notions of what you are, or they go, oh, you are a Black trans woman, and so we know that Black trans women are this, and they don't give me a chance to actually introduce myself to them. There is a list of things that society has shown people of what Black trans people can be or are. And then they meet me and I'm like, well, a lot of those things weren't my experience. A lot of those things weren't, I have a very supportive family, and I was, in schools that were, given funding. I have a family that loves me, and that when I shared my, discovery of self with them, they continue to love me, and if anything, like, loved me even more, made sure that I knew that they loved me. And that's, not the experience that so many people have. But when I'm speaking with someone in an interview setting and they are meeting me with the assumptions that, I'm just struggling along the way, it's like, well, but maybe we aren't. And maybe trans people can have joy, and maybe trans people can thrive, and maybe trans people can work really hard and their dreams can finally start to come true. That's the narrative that we so often seem to miss in conversations about people who are gender expansive in some way, is that we are all miserable. And that's the very narrative that kept me from finding myself in so many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. That actually really resonates. Yeah, we've talked about this, right? The idea that coming out was delayed because I didn't hate myself, right? Like that is the expectation, right? That if you are trans, that necessarily, surely you must be, really depressed, really unhappy. You must not like your body, right? Like, that wasn't the case. And so what it sounds like to me is that you're talking about sort of experiencing other people's disappointment, that you aren't more depressed, aren't, like, you have a harder life.
And quite literally, sometimes you will see that disappointment fall over this person's face when they realize that your struggle has not been quite as challenging as they believed it should have been. Which is not to say that I don't struggle, which is not to say that, I live in New York City. It's not to say that there are not difficulties and I'm constantly facing things. But I believe many of the things that I face are not necessarily just related to my being trans. They are related to being a woman. They are related to being Black. They're related to being, not 21. They are related to being not a size 2. There are lots of things that go along with these things that we experience that are just real world problems, and that everyone in many ways are experiencing versions of.
Right. I mean, what you're pointing to is the idea that because people have this sense of who you are, this preconceived notion, and they want to elevate that, which is very well-intentioned and nice, they're completely missing who you actually are and how wide of an experience they might be able to learn about, right?
Yeah. Well-intentioned is a word I find myself using very often. Because we are in a period where there is more visibility, there's more than there was before. And I think that people are genuinely interested in learning about people who are different than, they have deemed as normal. What is normal? Who is it actually centered on? My normal may be very different from yours. We are in a space where people are interested in finding out more about folks. And that's beautiful. And I think one of the things that I've encountered a lot is people's sort of persistence to look at you through their lens instead of getting to know you to see who you are through your own. And I think that's something that is certainly not limited to the experience of being trans. That's for any of us. That's something that, when we meet a new person, I want to give you the chance to show me who you are, to tell me the things that scare you. What's your favorite color? This is the very thing, is that I am often in interviews, especially during the Tony process, where everyone's first things were, what does it feel like to be a trailblazer? And for me, it's like, I'm just trying to put one foot in front of the other. I don't know I'm a trailblazer, okay. I have been navigating greatly through the dark and hoping that each step I make will not, send me over a cliff somewhere. So I'm trying to carefully find my way, and you are now asking me questions about how does it feel to shift people's expectations of things, or how does it feel to be this very important person in some way. And I'm like, I'm just El Morgan. You're putting something on my shoulders that I don't know that I could hold if I really see the responsibility behind that. Again, I'm just trying to put one foot in front of the other and hoping that I can help others to understand that moving forward just means putting one foot in front of the other, and we're all going to encounter obstacles along the way. And that's another expectation that is put on, but yeah.
So do you have examples of moments where you felt like, oh yes, I was deeply listened to here. This felt good?
Never. No.
It's like, well, that's going to stop the conversation right here.
And curtain. I'm actually in the process of working on a project with some writers in London. They reached out to me over the pandemic, and the project is a musical adaptation of a story that was put into film called The Danish Girl. And the way that they have been building the piece is like such a lesson in listening, and is such the team is made up solely of cis humans or cisgendered humans who want to do right and want to tell the story in a way that honors Lily's voice. And they've brought together a group of trans people to have conversations about themselves and Lily and what life would be like in this time period for someone who was somehow gender expansive. And it's been a really beautiful process seeing how, when people start to truly understand and people start to truly get the basics of things, how different it makes the storytelling, how different it makes the experience of being in the room, how different. Suddenly you really are just a group of people who are here sharing a story that is beautiful, and it stops becoming about the things that make us different.
Right. Yeah.
It stops becoming about what, trying to sort of walk on ice to make sure that people are not misstepping or saying the wrong thing or feeling the wrong thing. And it really gives people the space to simply be. You know, anyone I'm in a relationship with is going to have a fall at some point. Like, we are always going to argue, we're always going to disagree about something at some point. That's human. So it's like these people are in a space of being able to make mistakes and understanding that we all make them. And in turn, that gives them this sense of freedom to actually just be.
That sounds amazing. Okay, so that seems like it's going to be an amazing role for you to participate in this project. Is there like another dream role that you have in the back of your mind that you're hoping that you'll be able to take on one day?
Sure. I mean, look, in terms of musicals, there's always Dot and Sunny in the Park with George. I have put that out everywhere. At this point, I'm sort of constantly saying it. Someone produced Sunny in the Park with George again. And I should say specifically, putting me in that show does not mean that show then needs to become some sort of rainbow unicorn queer version of Sunny in the Park with George. I simply want to play Dot, and it's really that easy. And you know, am I able to sing the track? Yes. Am I able to do the scene work? Yes. You don't need to turn it into sort of this exploration of now it's queer. It's like, well, perhaps now it's just Sunny in the Park with George like Sondheim intended it to be, and you have a woman who has a slightly different background than the women who have played it before. That's the world that I want to be seeing more of. And it's a world that I am excited sort of as a creator to also be making rooms to have those conversations in, and to be, you know, making work that allows people to just be, and that will allow people to bring their own intersections into the space instead of me putting sort of preconceptions about how those intersections should behave.
50 years from now. But, okay, all right. I'm not quite sure where that came from, but okay. 50 years from now, what do you want the story to be when people talk about you?
Wow. Ooh. She cared. That's it. She cared. Yeah, I'll leave that.
All right. Earlier, you mentioned that one of the things that you have experienced as you've been dealing with press and during Tony Awards season is, you know, people immediately asking you about this, the perception that you occupy this immense, you know, role right now on Broadway and in entertainment, broadly speaking, right? And you do. You do. But they're not asking you very simple questions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, in the spirit of that, because you mentioned it earlier, what is your favorite color?
My favorite color changes constantly. It is currently blue.
Okay.
A sort of turquoise blue.
All right. I like that. That's very
Tomorrow
nice.
it will be different. Like,
okay.
It literally changes every day. Sometimes it's plum, sometimes it's hunter green that I'm wearing. But currently turquoise blue.
All right, I'll take it. Fantastic.
That makes this interview different than every other because I never get asked those simple questions.
Amazing. Elle Morgan Lee, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. I'm about to close out this show. I just want to say that this was an unbelievable experience for me to be able to meet all of these individuals, to hear their stories, to hear them talk about their life experience. That is my favorite thing to do. And I'm so grateful to the Clinton Global Initiative for them putting on this event and allowing these speakers to speak. So thank you so much.
Got nothing